Welcome in. This is your odds checker betting preview for this week's PGA Championship. I'm Rick Gehman. That right there is Geoff Fienberg. And Jeff, here we go again. Our second major championship of the year, headed back to Southern Hills. The first full field, big field major championship of the season, bud.
I absolutely have fallen in love with what the PGA of America has decided to do. The scheduling change, making this the second major, not the last major, has helped. I'm almost embarrassed to say, when I started doing golf content 7 years ago, Rick, this was like my least favorite major, and there was probably a definitive gap. The course selection, I've just fallen in love with everything that's become of this event. I cannot deny it. And it's a major. It's easy to say that, but yeah, so I'm absolutely fired up. Southern Hills, been seeing the old Tiger winning replays, playing on Golf Channel, doing my part there.
No, you're right. I think that this was always for a long time seen as kind of the little brother to the other major championships, but no longer. We've gotten some great winners. We've got some great golf courses, gotten some great championships, and hopefully we get another one this time around at Southern Hills. Jeff, I don't want to waste any more time. Let's just look at the odds checker grid here. There are co-favorites at the top. Jon Rahm, Scotty Scheffler, they're both 12-1. 14-1 in a tier of his own is Rory McIlroy. Then you can get either Colin Morikawa and Justin Thomas at 16-1. Those are the big five under 20-1. How do you feel about these guys?
I mean, the super elites, I don't really see myself making a bet on any of them, Rick. I think all the sort of immediate trends would probably be kinder to Scheffler, Rahm, and Thomas. Thomas without a win, his form, his results, everything is trending so perfectly to this moment that it would make perfect sense to see him win his second Wanamaker. Morikawa, you trust the ball striking. Rory's an interesting one. The back-to-back second place finishes off of the great Sunday finishes, or to sort of secure those placings. But the confidence is king. That being said, I feel like if I was going to bet on Rory, Rick, I'd probably just reach to that upper shelf and bet on Jon Rahm, or reach a little behind and bet Justin Thomas. So he might actually be, he's kind of in a no man's land for me, but I don't see myself making any bet here. But we could see if the board normalizes and some of these guys take a big jump up.
Yeah, Rory is a bit awkward. I agree with you. I probably will not have a click in this range. If I did, it would probably be JT. I think there's just only so many times you can knock on the door before it eventually opens, and it hasn't opened for him yet this calendar year. The 20s, as they tend to do, Jeff, in major championships, get really, really good. Jordan Spieth is 20-1. Dustin Johnson, Cam Smith, Patrick Cantlay, Victor Hovland, all 22-1, and then Xander Schauffele rounds out that tier at 29-1. This feels like a more natural starting place for your betting card.
Certainly for me. And PGA Championships, US Opens, they demand long and narrow golf courses, and it kind of, I'd always say, like, unless Jordan's gonna be on peak game, like, I don't think he's gonna sniff one of these. Well, here we are, Rick. He's knocking on the door again. As full disclosure, we're talking now. The tee to green has been immaculate. Yeah. The putter hasn't really even woken up, and we're in Big 12 country at a course that, it seems like a lot of these major championship venues, the equalizer will be his ability to make those incredible par saves, those chips that we all just expect. If you're betting him, you expect. So here we are again, and I have to respect he is now his seat at the big boy table. I'd argue he's got a booth at the big boy table back at the restaurant as it's setting up. All that being said, for me, going a little farther back, Patrick Cantlay, outside of Scotty Scheffler, I feel has the best results in this season. He could have 3 regular events, multiple playoff losses. The Zurich win with Xander, I don't care. I'm not even really taking too much from that, other than to say any win counts. Winning matters. We saw Phil. Remember him? Phil won off a Champions Tour win. He said, listen, it just helped. That's all that matters. And we're seeing a lot of this young guard by almost the field we saw at the Byron Nelson. They all know how hot they get when they win. So why not win before one of these big events? You just look at the stats outside of a lull around the players. We got a little cold, got some cold weather. Had to put on the toque. Did not fare well. The only concern is major championships have not really matched up to the game, or matched up to everything else. But I am expecting it long, narrow, bent grass, windy. If I have to make a move on a high-end player this week, it's Patrick Cantlay.
I love the number. That is where my eyes immediately went to as well. I am worried a bit about the major championship record. I believe this is going to be his 20th major championship. Not a lot of contending, but hey, Jon Rahm didn't win his first until his 20th crack at it. So that resume looks a lot different if it ended up having a victory on it at Southern Hills.
And it'll be so embarrassing. Like if we're sitting there with our Cantlay tickets and Spieth wins at 20 and it's just like, it's there the whole time, people. Like that's where you feel silly because, Jordan's got all the trophies. I like to bet on the guys trying to get the first one. I don't count the FedEx Cup here in this conversation.
The next tier is fascinating, and I know there is at least one guy here that we both have a ticket in for already, and this is where you really want to be checking out the grid because, for example, Brooks Koepka, who withdrew from the AT&T Byron Nelson before it started, 40-1 in some places, 22-1 in other places. So you're going to want to shop these. A couple of names here, Geoff. Let's start with Hideki Matsuyama because I know both you and I are super excited about Hideki. I placed a bet Thursday morning of the Byron Nelson. When I saw him go out and make 5 early birdies, I said, looks healthy, looks good enough to me. I'm clicking his name for next week.
Yeah, listen, and that goes back to the odds checker grid, Rick. I'm not kidding. Thursday morning, like you saw, I was healthy. Just need to see what's out there, what the number is to know that the number that I was getting was great. And it was time to pull the trigger because it wasn't going to get shorter once it's proven that he's healthy on a venue that again, all those things I said, long, narrow, around the green play.
There's some subtle Augusta comps in there. I mean, it's everything.
The grass, the gill.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Hideki's won at the Architect crossover. I'm not the biggest, deep diving the course. I don't want, we know what's asked of these U.S. Open PGA championships. Not much changes as far as I'm concerned. You have to trust a guy to make that clutch up and down. You have to think he's going to hit a lot of greens in regulation. It's, not be wayward off the tee. But I absolutely love Hideki. Use that grid. Knew I was getting the best number. So that's the bet in-house. I also in this range, and we see them out there with the competition in the marketplace. A lot of these sites, different ones, they're throwing out boosts. I couldn't resist. I'm a sucker. Willie Zalatoris took my Willie Zalatoris bet boost last week, Rick. So I'm in on those guys. And there are a few others who I'm circling in this range, like swimming around, as we should say, because I love the guys who haven't won a major 30 to 50 to 1. Like this is the sweet spot as far as I'm concerned. As Jordan Spieth is going to win, I'm going to be maybe swinging on these guys. Sam Burns. I don't care about what happened at the Byron Nelson. I feel like he's his game and his mentality is very well suited for this moment. And Joaquin Niemann, disappointing Sunday at the Byron Nelson. I almost bet him to win that. I pivoted off to Hideki, who might, finish a little higher. That's totally irrelevant. I was kind of waiting for Niemann to pop next week with the fact he's underrated long. He's underrated. He's longer than we even think. I know I talk about that enough. He's straight. He's a great win player, and there's some early concerns or obvious, pointing to that as we are in Oklahoma this time of year. And he's very familiar, succeeds with that. We know how crafty he can be with those shots. And I do trust him around the green, despite a really disappointing chipping performance that played him out of contention at last week's event. So those are the guys that I'm kind of swimming around looking to pop their major cherry, I should say.
Yeah, if I kind of start my card with Hideki and Joaquin Niemann, I think I'd be pretty thrilled about that. Niemann, obviously victorious at Riviera, which is such a demanding golf course, one that asks you to hit a lot of long irons. And I do wonder if that Sunday fade at the Byron Nelson does keep this price in check over the course of the week. But let's Let's go deeper here, Geoff, because we start to get outside the 50s into the 60s. Sung J M, he's withdrawn from the event. Don't bet him at 65-1. Max Homa is here anywhere from 50-1 to 66. So make sure you do your shopping. There's a guy named Tiger Woods in this range here, Geoff. Any of these names catching your attention and ones that you might be investing in this week?
Potentially, because I've talked about it a lot this year, but that's the thing. We're getting these names. They're what would normally be in the like long shot category, but sign me up potentially for some of these names, and you want to label them long shot. I'm pretty confident I'm going to be invested in Adam Scott in a bunch of different ways for next week. His ability to do almost everything I ask around a major championship venue. Putt luck would always be required if you wanted to be part of something in that 80-1 range to win outright on the grid, as low as 65. So we're always shopping. Gary Woodland, again, long straight, that tee to green game. Fingers crossed with some chip luck, putt luck. I know that's a big ask based on my sort of what you look at in your, we go to these major championships and we really do try to find what could be that differentiating factor. And a lot of the people who have done the deep dive are saying around the green play. So that can certainly be a concern. And again, it's a major. I believe in that Brooks Koepka attitude of it's a very limited amount of people who can win. I say that Phil won this year. I'll just rather be proven wrong than invest in this range, I guess.
Yeah, these greens are small and effectively even smaller with the way the edges kind of roll off. So either hit every single green or have the ability to get up and down a lot. Likely the largest discrepancy on the grid is with Billy Horschel, 50-1 in some places, 110 in others. I'm not a huge Billy Horschel guy, but he wins more than people think. His game has been better, I think, than he gets credit for. He has not been good at majors, but the PGA Championship has historically been his best. And 110-1, I could swallow that. I could shop that, Geoff. Anything else as we kind of enter the deep triple digits here? Have we gone past the guys that can realistically win this golf tournament?
A guy that I was looking at before he, I think, found his way to a top 10 last week is Alex Noren. And he's a player who a lot of people were highlighting a few weeks ago, and he let them down. And a player that, I always had this perception that he's better at hard courses, but he's really found a way to play birdie parties quite well, or some of those weaker fields. But he is a player that I might be willing to trust in this range, Rick. But I'm not going to lie, I haven't bet any of these guys. And as much as we think there's going to be some odds adjustments at the top, these futures, like these sorts of players, they're going to be books that they could add zeros to some of these names.
Yeah, for sure. I will likely enter the week with kind of a tight core with those, that 30 or that 20 to 50 to 60 that kind of wins more than they should, Geoff. I'd be pretty happy with guys that I can invest in those ranges. And you're right. I mean, there's more competition now than ever at these books. We're going to see a huge discrepancy. We're going to see boosts. We're going to see all that fun stuff. So it's use the grid. It's take advantage, find the best line. Any other tips for our second major championship?
I guess it's such a limited sample, so you almost feel silly saying it. But the two times we've been here, Rick, we haven't really seen much life from the pack, on the weekends. This design has, for whatever reason, just sort of awarded the guys, the high-end players that got out in front early. Not many guys were able to join the party as the tournaments here have progressed through the weekend. And I love to, sometimes just throw some live darts. So we'll see if I can even tame myself.
Yeah, that's why I like a nice small core before the week starts, because I know as soon as the week starts, I'll be firing away. So if I just start small, I'll save my dollars and work my way into it.
Let's get it. PGA Championship. We're finally out of the doldrums of that post-Masters schedule onto summer fun.
We're sprinting now. Geoff Fienberg available on Twitter at GFienberg17. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been your odds checker betting preview for this week's PGA Championship. Good luck.